Hey everyone, I'm going to be aquascaping and stocking these 3 nano tanks, and I figured I need to start getting footage from start of the process to the end so I can string it all together in something that makes sense. It'll be my first time documenting the process of getting a tank together. These will be my 4th, 5th, and 6th tanks. I have 3 other nano tanks that I love working in, and sorry, you can hear my kids watching Jurassic Park in the background. They're nerdy like me, so I'm fine with it. But I have a variety of, got some decorative stones that I might try and, glue some anubias to for placement. I'm going to try a few different techniques that would be new to me, but that I've been watching on the Smallscape with Joanna, as well as empty fish tanks. So a few techniques I want to try, a few scapes out there that maybe want to try and recreate myself. I think that's a kind of a cool place to start, because the planning phase, if you really want to aquascape something and make it look cool, or if you want to try and have a theme in there, I went through like all the Lord of the Rings themes in my head, and then the execution side, I thought, oh, I don't know if I'm there yet. So the planning can take you on a journey that runs there and back again, I'll say. And it can get frustrating, so I'm realizing that there is a component to this where you plan as best you can, but then you just got to go do. So I've got to get these tanks to where they're supposed to be, and actually start building the aquascape itself instead of endless time, working here, constantly rubbing dragonstone off. But I've got dragonstone, I've got a variety, whole bunch of different pieces of wood here. Got more over here. I've also got a bunch of wood in my current tanks that I'll be moving around, but I wanted to buy just kind of a whole collection of stuff that I could work with. And oh my god, yeah, I mentioned my kids like dinosaurs, right? So yeah, wish me luck. I will hopefully start to get this scaped soon, and I might also film me kind of working it out or doing some of the planning, because I know I'll sit here and end up doing that again. So stay tuned. So welcome to the jungle. This is my 20-gallon high, heavily planted, just jungle, out of control tank. I have a male betta fish in here, and this is his community. You might see, oh, where'd she go? In the background, I have some Danios swimming around. You might see Brenda. She swims a little funny. I don't know why she's named that way. She came from the fish store like that. That's my Pearl, but you'll see her go by. She's okay. If you see her, she's okay. I think she just was born with a little swimming deformity, but she's healthy and happy. Oh, and this is Lovey. He thinks he's a Cory. I brought this up as I was comment bombing one of the Smallscape's lives, and I was mentioning that if you keep a betta in a community tank, at some point it's going to start to think it's another species. At least that's what I found. So I've got Lovey here, who hangs out on the bottom, hangs out with the Corys, and when the Corys lay eggs, he goes and he lays against them, and he doesn't let the Danios come and eat them, and he doesn't eat them. And I've actually had 2 Cory fry hatch and grow up in this tank. So that was curious. And then I read, I'm going to read about male betta breeding behavior, and they take the eggs to their bubble nest and they watch them and they protect them, and if one falls out they put it back, and that's kind of their role. So I'm starting to think, maybe it's the case that he is guarding the eggs. Anyway, I'll move on. I've got a whole bunch of plants in here, mainly Hygrophila, species of Bacopa, and one of the big tangle messes in here is Helantium, which is kind of bushy grass plants that, hey buddy, bushy grassy plants that kind of grow on a runner and shoot out runners. Normally you would take this off and you can plant them in your substrate. I've been letting them grow and letting them float. They've been growing like wild that way, and I find that kind of opened the options for me. So they propagated really well, and instead of separating them off the runner and planting them, what I might end up doing is seeing what it looks like when I take the entire kind of system on the runner and wrap it around the driftwood. I think that might look pretty cool in some of my tanks. I can't really see in here, but in the very back I've got a variety of driftwood. I've got So you can see a big piece there. You can see all the roots coming down. There's the Helantium where you see all the roots hanging down. So I've got really matured, tons and tons of wood back there in cholla. That's actually the little area where the baby peppercorns have been. And so anyway, I will be taking some of the plants out of here. I have a plan for where they're gonna go. I've got some Java Fern, I've got some Java Fern Windalove back there, Hygrophila, Hygrophila corymbosa compact. I'm needed right now, I gotta go, but I have basically this jungle explosion and 3 low-tech nano tanks of mine, and I'm going to be able to use a lot of these plants in my 3 new tanks, so I cannot wait to show you that either. And this is actually going to be my first time trying fluval stratum. So I've been in this hobby for almost a year now, but I've been obsessed and really enjoying it. I have my sand down here. I might have to buy a little bit more substrate with what I want to do with the AQUASCAPE, but I'm excited to try it out. I'm not going to rinse it. I've canvassed a few people to see what they do, and I'm going to try the whole add the water really gently, and then you know, just let the cloudiness clear, because I won't be adding livestock to these tanks right away. I'm going to let them run for a few days. Right now I'm kind of pre-seeding a whole bunch of new filter media that I have had in my other tanks, and I can show you that in a minute. But this is kind of how I prepare. So I'm getting all my supplies, as I already went through down the table there. But I wanted to call it. I'm going to try some new substrate. My plants are growing in sand, and I do have a layered substrate with fluoride in the bottom in one of my tanks, which I'm sure helps some of the planted ones. However, I have tons of floating plants, tons and tons of floating plants, and I love them, and the bettas love them too. So anyway, I'm excited to try that, and we'll see how that goes. I would like to basically plant a forest of Hygrophila in there, so that will be pretty awesome. So this is the layered substrate I wanted to point out that I have. I'm sure I didn't do this exactly how people are supposed to do it. I'm not sure. It's because this substrate was layered over time. I started out with Seachem fluoride, the kind of clay colored one. And then I started getting interested in African dwarf frogs and other animals and other species that required different types of substrates. So once I introduced the frogs to my tank, I actually went out and got the Stony River, River Stone, the ones that are about, you know, size of a dime, and I went through the bag and I hand picked the smoothest pieces, and you can see a little bit of it down here. And so I had that on kind of as a layer, and I was good about, you know, cleaning my tank and vacuuming the substrate. At the time I would do about half with a water change, and then a week or two later I'd kind of do the other half, so I wasn't getting rid of everything good all at once. I was a little paranoid about that. I think it's not as educated, right? So I'm trying to be careful not take everything out of my tank at once. But then, as you can see, I have quarries. So when I was going to introduce the quarries to the tank, I read that they absolutely prefer sand. And so I gave everything a good clean, and I added the sand, and I have a few my Hygrophila planted, but almost everything else isn't. The Hygrophila root system goes all the way down here. So I'll be removing this from my new tanks to help build the forest out. And the small scape, again, helping me learn how to propagate plants and everything, and it's becoming pretty evident how maybe the way you do one plant is also the way you do another plant. So with Hygrophila, I know I have some algae I'm battling here. Good new growth though at the top, but I'm going to be just kind of chopping these down, taking them out, separating them a little bit more, and then putting them in the tank. But I'm going to leave the root system and some of the babies that are sprouting up at the bottom, so that I have a little bit of a farm or perpetual growth. And yeah, but the layered substrate kind of happened by accident, but I do think it's benefiting the plants, and it's done in a way that you know, I don't clean my sand. My quarries clean the sand. This is I haven't touched the sand for months. They keep it very clean, and someone's whispering "Mommy" beside me. What is that all over your hands? Oh my gosh, you know what? I gotta go. Okay, I'm back. That's funny. Crisis averted. It was just clay on his hands. I had no idea what that was. You never know as a parent. So anyway, I want to come back over and quickly show that layered substrate over here, and that's about it. So looking forward to kind of getting all these elements, all the stuff that's been growing. I highly advise, if you're interested in a low-tech planted aquarium, get hygrophila, get Java ferns, anubias, bacopa. Don't get this big monster. The stuff I have this upstairs, when it grows out of the tank, I notice it's a lot more robust and with rubbery leaves. In the tank, it's actually really delicate and the leaves fall off. But if you go with bacopa, you can see some sticking out here. More of a smaller species, so Bacopa monnieri or Bacopa carolinea, you can do a lot with those. I have a tree, like a piece of spider wood that really looks like a tree with branches, and I just wrapped it around. Here, I might as well show you. I'm showing you through the back of this tank right now. Obviously, I need to do some cleaning in here, and I have some algae that I'm going to be dealing with as I transfer plants out, but essentially I've got an awesome piece of wood in here and some hygrophila floated in there out of nowhere. But I have these all wrapped around, so when this is kind of cleaned up and it's not as, I guess, not a shot through the back of the tank, it looks like a big old tree, and it's got all of these leaves, and inside is where the frogs like to chill and relax. Let me see if there's going to be someone somewhere. Right there. Yeah, so I've got a little bit, you can see there, I've got some algae I've got to clean up, but the plants are still growing, and since I'm going to be moving them out, moving things around, everything is going to get a good dip and hopefully clear it off a little bit. But there's one of my females, and they love to sit in the tree all day long. They're near the top. The African dwarf frogs like to gulp air, so this tree was just something fun for them. And underneath, you can see they can go underneath and whatnot. But I've got a bunch of debris and extra detritus I've been trying to get rid of, but it kind of keeps coming out of nowhere, and so I've been cleaning that. Otherwise, everything's growing really well. You can see a lot of rooting. So this, despite needing to be cleaned up, is actually going to be really great. You can see all these bacopa babies that sprout off and grow down here. If you see a little tiny piece of plant, please don't get rid of it. It is going to grow immensely. And also, same with these little snails. Some people call them pests, or I don't know if they're bladder snails or what, but I've had like a handful in here, and to be honest, they're just going around cleaning up some of this algae at the back of my tank that I didn't clean. So, you know, I'm thankful for those little guys. And then there's the hours of just sitting like this, doing random little sketches of tanks and ideas while your kids fight in the background. And this can go on forever. This is why I say, you know, create a guideline. I have pages and pages of different actual measured out, drawn out tanks. Don't do what I'm doing. It's silly. Do a little bit. Do guidance like this, and then just get to it.
Mommy?
Yes, honey. Bye-bye.